In today's episode, we will be speaking with Raul Villacis. He's an entrepreneur, author, and speaker. He will not only be sharing the techniques and the tools that he uses to be a peak performer, but also what he teaches in his exclusive men's event known as the Next Level Experience.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
This is part one of 2 episodes. Adult language and profanity is used throughout this particular episode. Caution. Welcome back. Thor Conklin here. 7 days a week, we interview inspiring peak performers in order to bring to you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategies, the technology, and the psychology they use to perform better than 99.9% of the population. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it done, or you simply want to raise your game to the next level and get more done, this podcast is for you. Raul Villacis. He's an entrepreneur, author, speaker. He started a global wave of male re-empowerment. He knows the difficulties men face as they try to find their balance in being business leaders, family men, and role models. He has developed a unique and powerful approach to help individuals create, find purpose, and infuse certainty into their lives. It's called the Next Level Experience. He focuses on helping entrepreneurs, CEOs, and celebrities devise a system to regain the balance in their lives and create success in any economy. His real estate endeavor, AG Advisors, was dubbed by the Wall Street Journal as one of the nation's top real estate firms. He has co-authored books with Steve Forbes and Brian Tracy. Please welcome Raul.
Thor, thank you, brother. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I'm excited to share my stories with your audience. I'm excited to be here. Man, it's really good to be alive this time. Good to be here, man.
Well, thank you for joining us. I've had the pleasure of knowing you probably for the last 5 or 6 years, and to see what you're doing with Next Level is absolutely amazing. And as you know, our audience is all about peak performers, and when I was going through my list of friends and colleagues that I knew that absolutely perform at the top of their game, you stand out. So share with our audience a little bit about what do you do in your personal life, in your business life, that enables you to get the results that you're getting?
Well, Thor, the first thing is you have to be clear about what you want. You know, and as I remember in my real estate career, the only reason we were successful because we were clear that we needed to beat the market. And you could probably understand as, you know, being in the financial world and selling companies, that unless you have a clear strategy of what you want, unless you're clear about what the outcome is, you're not going to get it. And part of being clear is being real with, okay, here's what I want, here's what I don't want, here's what I'm willing to do to get what I want. And when I talk to entrepreneurs every single time, they lost clarity because, you know, the more that you continue to grow in business, sometimes we lose the sense of clarity. Why did we start a business in the first place?
Yeah, it's the first step of the ultimate success map. You got to figure out what you want. If you don't have clarity, you can't take action.
Yeah, but see, at the same time, what you want changes as you evolve. And we were just talking about how my journey has changed dramatically since 5 years ago, since you met me. I mean, 5 years ago, I probably could go back and think where I was 5 years, around 2016, 2011. Probably right there was one of my peak years in real estate after the downturn. Like 2011 was probably when I was getting my big break on breaking into the distressed market business and buying all these foreclosure properties, buying all the distressed assets. And now, look, 5 years from there, I'm talking about a complete different conversation, which is bringing the balance into life. So what you want is really going to change and evolve based on who you're becoming. And as a company, you have to be really, really present to what your customer needs or what your employees need in order for you to start changing what you want.
Yeah.
And that's why these companies go out of business, because they forget what they're in business in the first place. They forget the outcome. And then they continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get the same results when the market changes, technology changes. Look at Blockbuster Video. They knew what they wanted. They wanted to be the best in the rental movie business. But they went bankrupt because they couldn't adapt. They forgot why they were in business.
Yeah, you have to have an effective plan, and that plan changes over time. No question.
You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible.
Raul, anyone in business knows that there's ups, there's downs, there's peaks, there's valleys. Take us to a time where things did not work out the way you wanted them to work out. And how did you recover from that? How did you thrive from that? Bring us back to that moment.
It's funny you say that because I was talking to my wife just last night. We were having dinner, and I was talking to my wife and said how far we've come from the times where things that I used to think were the end of the world. Right now, like if it happens to me, I'm like, oh, it's just another day. It's just another day in the field. Like I remember 2007 when the first bank went under. I felt like, oh, it's just one bank. One bank, we're gonna be okay. Then the next week, another bank went under, and I used to own a mortgage company. I used to have a real estate firm, and I used to have a real estate investment firm. So I had my mortgage guys switching names every single month because we went from bank to bank. Then I had my real estate guys. They couldn't sell a damn thing because nobody was lending money. Then I had my investment group. We couldn't move the properties because we were stuck with projects in the middle of the recession. So now here I am thinking like it's going to be okay. Now, not realizing that this downturn was going to be for a long period of time, for more than a couple of years.
When the ship is sinking, sell life preservers. Find something. There's always an opportunity in any market. How do you thrive through that experience?
Well, I wish I could tell you that I woke up right away, but I didn't. I actually lied to myself thinking that I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the success story that's going to weather the storm. So when everybody else was fire selling, I said, no, that's for guys who don't have the balls and the capacity to weather the storm. I'm gonna be the guy who, when the ship is sinking, I'm gonna be standing tall, saying I made it.
Yeah, so I've been there too.
I was the guy who didn't the party ended, and I'm the last guy saying, "Hey, don't go. Continue the party. Like here, come on. I'll bring more booze.
No,
keep the music playing."
I was the guy standing behind you. You just didn't see me. There was one more guy standing there. That was me.
There you go. And that's what we were. We were just lying to ourselves. Why? Because if we were really honest, we didn't know. I mean, at least for me, I didn't know what to do in a downturn because I never experienced it.
Yeah.
I was making so much money. I just didn't want the party to end. I didn't have the association. I didn't have guys who were older than me to tell me, hey, man, this is just another cycle. Just sell your stuff. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll reopen again. I felt like, oh, shit, if this ends, this is going to be the end of me. So I took my success personally. It was my identity. I had my suit, my tie, my office, my nice clothes, my nice cars. That was who Raul was. So imagine, take that away, and then I'm left empty. I'm left without a purpose, without a meaning, without an identity.
Yeah, I just did a show on identity. It's so important. It controls so much of what we do. And
then from there on, I went into a downturn of just kind of, it wasn't depression. I don't know if I was depressed, but I was to the point that I didn't want to go to the office. It was to the point that I wanted to be the guy who wanted to pump everybody up with positive thinking that I didn't believe anymore. And that's when I started reading books on personal development and the power of being positive. So how does this work? How can I cannot be positive when my ship is sinking right now? So I was the guy who's like, I don't believe in this stuff anymore because all this positive thinking didn't work. And until I heard one speaker say exactly what you said to me, which is in moments of crisis, there is always an opportunity. There is always an opportunity. And that's when I found the stress market. That's when I found the opportunity because I was in the distress situation. I had properties that I was sending them right back to the bank saying, I can't pay for this building. I know I gave you $500,000 of a down payment, but I'm just in the hole right now. And I remember the lenders were saying, well, as long as you don't want your money back, just sign here and we'll take over the property. And I had to do that. And I had to be real with myself saying, do I want this house of cards or do I want my sanity to at least not to have to worry that I owe all this debt?
Yeah, it's a tough decision to come to at that point, but I've been there myself.
And here is the biggest turning point that I tell people what happened to me is my conversation with my wife. I had to get real with her. And I came home. I remember one time coming home and I said, I need to talk to you. And we sat down kitchen table and I said, if all this was to disappear, which is very likely that it will, because right now I have to make a decision. Do I pay the mortgage for this house or do I pay the office where I have all my staff in? Like, I need to know where we stand. Are we going to be divorced? Are we going to be another statistic? My son was 5 years old. My daughter was 4 years old. And I said, are we going to be in a statistic or are we going to make it through? And she said something to me that until now remember, because it just embedded into my head. She said, I will go and live on the bridge with you if I have to, but I know it's not going to be forever. Like,
nice.
I'll go with you, but you need to figure this shit out.
You got to step
I'll
up.
follow you, but I know you are not going to stay there.
Yeah, you got to be the man. You got to step up and make this happen.
So that gave me the certainty, at least at that moment, to believe that, shit, I need to figure this out. And I will figure it out. Like right now, maybe this is as worse as ever been for me, but I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah, it's funny. Trials, tribulation, difficult things. Those are the things that shape our character. It's like going to the gym. You don't get muscles by just looking at the gym. You got to go in there. You got to do the hard work. And the things that don't work out the way we want them to work out, those are the things that propel us to the next level. They give us the strength to do it.
And then it wasn't just that. And now I don't have any money. Right now the market is crashing, and because we were investors, now I have my investors coming back saying, okay, where's this project going? Where are we going to go? So now I have all these guys who are upset at me because we're losing money. So now I have become this guy who now have to make things happen. Like, people have trusted me. Now I have to make things happen. So that's a stress of not just losing your money, losing somebody else's money. And now how do you recoup from that is, well, you are real. You are dealing with real situations here. And part of my strategy was I need to be honest and real with people. And when I was honest and real, people appreciated the fact that I wasn't trying to sugarcoat how bad it was. We have to sell the properties, we have to cut our losses, and then we started a different aspect of our business, which is the management of the distressed properties. Now, who's better to manage distressed properties than somebody who went through a distressed situation?
Exactly.
So that was my pitch to the banks. Like, I've been there. I know the psychology of people who are in a situation. So I became the guy, the go-to guy that understood this market because I knew the other side of the business. And from there on, man, we just exploded. We exploded because we actually were able to save people from having to lose their homes. We were negotiating with banks. Banks loved us because the fact is that we cared. Like, we were not just the guy who was in it just for the money. Now we knew that behind this stress situation, there is a family. There is a family, there's a story behind it. And we became pretty much the psychologists behind this situation, between the bank, between the homeowner, between the investor. I mean, we were playing so many hats. And at that point, we knew that, we needed to do something different. At that point, we knew that this is where, this is the level that we need to be in order for us to understand the process.
I love it. As I look at this, you started off with first telling yourself the truth. This is where I am. And then you went to your wife and you said, look, this is where we are. And I need your support. I love that. And then you went out and you told others, this is where I am. Here's the truth. I'm not trying to hide something, and I'm going to need your support as well. I love that. And a lot of times people go through life lying to themselves, lying to others, and you can't fix a lie. So great advice there.
And here's the thing. People think that by pretending and by lying is not going to catch up to you. Like, I've made more money, Thor, by being real than pretending that I was like everybody else. Like, I remember sitting with an asset manager and telling him, I am your guy for me to manage this $100 million portfolio. Why? Because this is my only play. Like, if you trust me with this and to manage these properties for you, like, I am not going to mess this up, because if I don't have this, there is nothing else that I'm like, this is my chance. So this man looked at me and said, like, I am going to hire you. Your company is going to represent us with $100 million of distressed properties. Why? Because you were real with me. Because I know that I could count on you being real and telling me the truth.
In order to go from where you were to where you are today, Someone, I'm sure, along the way gave you some guidance, some help. It was a mentor. Who was that person, and what did they do to help you?
Well, it was a series of multiple mentors and multiple experiences, because once I got my company out of the hole, once I got my company out of being in distress, I actually was doing pretty good financially. Like, I didn't have a reason to be stressed out. But what happened is I started having some physical stress pains in my body. Like, I started having this pain in my core, in my stomach, and it happened every single night. It wasn't during the day, it was at night. So it prevented me from sleeping. So I was now sleep deprived, and I was in pain, and every single day I'll go to the office, everything was fine, come back home, and then the stress will be present. So the only thing that will stop me from the stress is drinking. So I wasn't a drinker, but I started drinking just to ease the pain, to the point that I was drinking a half a bottle of tequila every single night for 6 months. And imagine this, as a successful guy, everybody's looking up to him, I go to church, everything is fine, and then I have to drink myself to sleep because I couldn't sleep. My stress was so big and so painful that I couldn't handle it. And at that moment I realized I needed to get help. I needed to find out what can I do to get this pain out, because doctors couldn't find anything wrong with it. I went through a specialist. I thought I had cancer. People were doing all kinds of tests. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. And then that's when I traveled to India, and I went to a meditation retreat. And actually the reason I went to a meditation retreat is because I met Tony Robbins. And when I shared this with Tony Robbins, Tony says, you had to come with me to India, and I guarantee you that you're gonna find what the cause of the pain is. I trusted him, and I went to India. The first 2 days, I thought he lost his fucking mind. Because we were meditating for 6 hours a day. And here's a guy, if you guys know who Tony Robbins is, you're used to seeing him in peak state and action, and like, I'm there, just give me the heat, Tony. Give me the motivation. Give me the fire. But no, we're going to go to meditate for 6 hours a day? Are you fucking kidding me? I've never meditated in my life before that. So I went to the guru and the monk, and I said, find me the next flight to the US, because this meditation shit is not working for me. Like, I've been meditating for the past 3 days. My pain is still real here. My pain is there, but I find that this is just a waste of time for me. So he said to me, why don't you meditate on your childhood? Like, what happened to you when you were a child? I said, that's when you're wrong, man, because I had a beautiful childhood. My family, I love my parents loved me. There was no issue in my childhood. And he said, meditate on that, and I guarantee you that you're going to find the answer. So I followed the instructions. I went to meditate, and I was meditating for 30 minutes, then 45 minutes, and an hour, and nothing, until I surrender. I surrender. At that moment, I say, you know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I pray, and I say, God, just show me, what is this pain? What is this pain that I'm carrying? And like, for the first time in my life, Thor, I remember a memory that I had when I was 8 years old. 8 years old, waking up and seeing my parents packing to leave the country. And I asked my mother, I said, where are you going? She goes, we're going to the US. We're going to this new land. We're going to this new country, and we're going to bring you with us. We just need to make sure that it is what we want it to be. So here I am, 8 years old. My brother is 5 years old. And now we're taking our parents to the airport. And as they take off, I feel that feeling of abandonment. I feel that feeling of, why are they leaving? I come back home and I cry myself to sleep, hugging the pillow and just crying through the night. And I've never addressed that thought. I never addressed that memory, because I didn't see my mother for 3 years and my father for 5 years. I was raised with my grandparents. And when we came to this country, we came to the US, like, all I wanted to do is, this will never happen to my kids. This will never happen to me again. So I created this identity, or this pattern, that I need to be successful so this shit won't happen to me. I needed to be successful in order for this not to happen to my kids. And that's when I created this self-imposed jail inside my head, thinking that that's who I was. But the reality is it was just an experience. Like, I needed to evolve. I needed to see what my next level was. And that's what I realized, that real estate for me was just one avenue of making money, one avenue of my experience. I really needed to find what my purpose was, what the meaning for my life was. And that's when the journey of the next level experience started.
It's interesting. I had a similar experience growing up, not exactly, but I remember going to the boat show with my dad when I was about 8 years old. And he'd always wanted to buy a boat, and he finally found the one he wanted, after years of going and going and going. And I'm like, well, Dad, buy it. And he goes, I can't afford it. And in that moment, something switched. It was like, I'll never get in a position where I can't afford something for my family. And that drove me.
Yeah, and that is where we are being conditioned. And that's when I realized that everything about me was conditioned. And it just coming to the US and being an immigrant, I was conditioned in school to be different. So everything about my life has been conditioned. And once I break through that condition and recreate who I am, that's when I have the power to choose. That's when I could choose. And as men, we've been conditioned. And just imagine this. We've been conditioned to please our wives, to please our kids, to please our employees, that we forget who we are in our core as a man. And all of a sudden, we wonder why our wives don't want to have sex with us, because we have become pleasers as opposed to pleasing them. That we become just like a sedated man that doesn't want to fight anymore. It's just like, here's the money, go buy this, because I don't want to have this conversation with you. Or do this, it's okay, I just want to be left alone.
I went to the same exact thing, and I see it all the time with clients. That's why I love the work that you're doing. Tell me about some of your weaknesses.
Every single day I get up and I have to reset, because every single day that I get up, I want to burn this shit to the ground, Thor. Every single day, like, fuck the next level, fuck this. I'm going to go build the biggest real estate empire that anybody's ever seen. And then I have to remember who I am. And then through what I teach my guys, which is a reset process, to actually come back to your core and decide based on power, not decide based on what your mind wants. It's a whole different experience when your mind wants you to do something, and then you go back to your core and you say, well, this is what I choose to do. So my weakness is that, yes, in my mind, I should be in a whole different level. But in my core, I know that every single day, I'm just one step farther, one level. And the analogy that I use is like every single day I recreate myself, because the guy who was yesterday, the Raul who was yesterday, that cannot serve me anymore. If I rely on the Raul that was yesterday, I'm fucked.
Goals are not about what you achieve, but it's about who you become. I love a good friend of mine and mentor has said to me, hell on earth would be to meet the man that you could have become. And that drives me all the time. I'm always focused on that, about becoming more. Not just about getting more or achieving more.
And here's the beautiful thing, that through my process and what I teach is that you actually could go into your subconscious mind. You could actually reprogram your subconscious mind, so you could actually meet the guy who you're going to become and actually have the conversation with, what do I need to do today? That's one of my mantras. What do I need to do today to live my ultimate destiny?
Yeah. A great question, and that should be asked every single morning.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we do every single day is we reset. I reset, because it's impossible for a guys who operate at the level that we operate. It's impossible for us to be fulfilled on the things that we do.
Yeah, I start every morning with the early morning success ritual, and it's so important. You got to every single day wake up and reset and get in alignment. I know that you hold yourself accountable. But who else besides yourself holds you accountable?
My kids. My kids, man. My kids are we have such an open relationship with my kids that they actually see what I do. And whenever I'm not in integrity, they will call me out of my bullshit. Like, hey, Dad, don't you say this? Like, my kids are my biggest accountability factor, because they're watching me. They're watching what I do. They're watching to make sure that I'm in integrity of the things that I say. Like when I talk about details matter, like, am I watching my details with them? When I talk about the balance of having the integration with your family. Like now we have a family date night. I also have a scheduled date night with my daughter. I have a play date with my son. Every month we pick different things. Like they hold me accountable so I could actually spend the quality time that I talk about with my clients. That for me is the biggest accountability, just to see every single night when they go to sleep and they give me the feedback, and I ask, I was like, so did you feel love today? Did you feel love? Do you know that I love you? I said, yes, Daddy, you made me feel love. It's like, great. And there's some days I'm like, no, Daddy, you were mean to me. Or no, Daddy, I didn't see you as much as I wanted to see. Or no, Daddy, I saw you in the phone. So I know that I have to adapt, adjust, and execute. That's one of the mantras that we talk about. Adapt.
Yeah.
Like, don't beat yourself down. There's days that I'm an asshole, and I get it. Like, shit, I could be working 24/7 because I love what I do.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Clients ask me all the time, how do I get this in business? Look, find out what your clients want. Go out, give it to them, and then check back in with them. Did I give you what you wanted? So many times we think we're giving our clients, our family, our wives, what they want, but we're not. You got to check in.
And I tell people all the time, what you want and what your wife wants, what your kids want, and what your clients want could be a whole different story.
Absolutely.
And then we are so used to giving people what we think they want or what we want, and we miss the fact that, shit, could you ask a question? What do you want? Like, here's a question that changed my relationship with my wife. I asked her, like, in 1 to 10, if you were to rate a relationship, like being real, where would you be? She goes, 5. I'm like, shit, are you kidding me? I thought we were an 8 or a 9. Like, here I am thinking of this badass, right? Like, we're in this beautiful vacation, and she's dropping the bomb on me saying that she thinks we're a 5. And I, okay, so what needs to happen in order for us to go to a 10? So she starts to give me a whole list of things, being more present, being this and doing that. And it came down to like actionable items. And I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. This, and that. And here's what I'm going to do right now. Here's the next 100 days what I'm committed to do. And then when she asked me, I said, the only thing I want is I want to be able to have clean underwear. I want to be able to have food so I don't have to starve. And I want to have sex.
Right.
3 things. That's it.
Right. See, that's a man talking.
Clean underwear, some food in the fridge, and don't deprive me from sex. Know that I'm a sexual being. It's like, done. I'm working on the other 20 things that you're looking to get. And here's what she told me. You want more sex? Okay. I'm tired of cooking. Like, I'm cooking like half a day, like, done. How much would it cost us to get like a chef to deliver food? Ever since then, that has been the biggest shift in a relationship, to actually invest in somebody cooking for us, that the excuse of I am tired no longer applies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a personal assistant that does the cooking. You have to eliminate those things that you don't need to do, or your family members don't need to do, that you can outsource.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you said what your wife wanted. And when she comes back, this is for the audience, when she comes back and she tells you what she wants, make sure you understand. Ask how specifically. Where do you want that done? How often? What time of day do you want it? Because all these things matter. What does it mean for me to be present with you? Dig down, figure out the nuances of it.
We just came back from the Bahamas at Atlantis. We actually met with the author of the 5 Love Languages.
Oh, one of my favorite books. I've got literally 20 copies. Anyone I meet and I talk about the book, they don't have a copy of it, pull it off the shelf and give it to them.
And he was telling us that the reality is that he wrote this 5 languages because of the relationship that he had with his wife. Like, he just needed a framework for his relationship, so he wrote a book about it.
If you haven't gotten that book, you need to go out and get that book. And this weekend, you need to sit down and do that little quiz at the end. You will learn more about your spouse, your mate, your girlfriend. Literally, I got divorced 2 years ago because I didn't understand some of these technologies and what I needed to do to step up as a man in the relationship. And I went on a learning journey, and this is one of the first books I read. And literally everyone I went out with, I would do this with. How am I going to create a relationship with you if I don't know what you want and how you need it?
And the author is Gary Chapman, and here's how you apply this into business. There are 5 love languages of your client. So once you understand the 5 love languages of your wife, they start comparing that. What is the language for my client? And every client is different. Every client is different. So the more you could understand the 5 love languages of your wife, then you could apply it into business. As how do I connect this with my employees? How can I connect this with my clients? And it just, relationship is just a reflection of business. I love working on my relationship because it just gives me a frame so I could improve my business.
That is great advice. That ends part 1 of our interview. Please tune in later this week for part 2. Remember, these shows are designed to be consumed during dot time, doing other things. Listen to them during your daily commute, driving, going to the gym, walking, running. Something where there's another activity that doesn't require a lot of thought process. I thank you for listening. If you have not already done so, please head over to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to the shows, leave us a 5-star rating. Please share this episode with family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could utilize this information. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. You can sign up for our newsletter where we send a weekly newsletter out with more tools, tricks, tips, and the psychology needed to be a peak performer. If you have any questions, please send them to info@thorconklin. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.